Hello everyone and welcome back to the FPL Family YouTube channel. I'm here today to talk about captaincy. Now Lee and I touch upon captaincy in our live streams every Sunday evening, but haven't up until now done a video fully about the captain's armband, and I think maybe now is the time because there is a lot of discussion in the community about whether moving the captaincy armband away from Salah might be the right thing to do, even with the form that the Egyptian king is in. So today's video we're going to be having a look at the best captain for game week 13, having a think about who has the most potential upside to their game this weekend and whether anybody is likely to outscore Mo Salah and therefore if anybody is worthy of wearing that captain's armband ahead of him. So let's start then by having a look at the fixtures for game week 13. So these are them. Now as you can see, Liverpool are sitting nice and high on the fixture ticker there against Southampton. They're in 5th place on the chart. Now, on paper, that is a really nice fixture. Salah also has a really brilliant record against Southampton. Actually, so does Sadio Mane, his teammate. But Salah averaging 8.75 points per match against Southampton. He has returned in 6 of his 8 Premier League matches against the Saints. And in those 6 matches, he has returned 3 double-digit hauls. On paper, everything is positive in terms of this fixture against Southampton. Not only that, but we look back at what Salah's been doing over the course of the season so far, and he has returned in 12 out of 13 fixtures. So again, on paper, everything going in the right direction. When we have a look at his expected goal involvement over the last 4 game weeks, it sits at 3.68. Only Josh King has a better expected goal involvement over the last 4 game weeks than Mo Salah does. And remember that those last 4 game weeks are supposedly Salah's blip, where he was only getting assists and then, of course, only the 1 goal against Arsenal last weekend. So good on paper. The only thing that slightly puts me off, but not enough to not captain him, is Southampton's XGC, their expected goals conceded. Over the last 4 game weeks, their expected goals conceded has been 2.60. Only Chelsea have been expected to concede less goals over the last 4 game weeks than Southampton have. So they have been doing really well defensively. Not only that, they've given away just 2 big chances in the last 4 game weeks. So Southampton defensively have massively improved over the last few weeks, and that is something that we should bear in mind when we are thinking about captaincy. However, for me, Salah is still absolutely the man to beat when it comes to giving away the captaincy armband. But there are some other options that I do want to have a little look at. Now, we have the possibility at the moment of captaining defenders. Now, this is something that, and if you saw the Premier League article that went out on this, it's something that I have real mixed feelings about. I don't really like captaining a defender. I'm always very wary of the fact that if the clean sheet goes, your route to points is suddenly so much more limited. On paper, if they've got a really nice fixture and they're not likely to concede, plus they are attacking by nature, then captaining a defender could be a good idea. However, we just have to be mindful of playing those fixtures, and if they look likely to concede, even if they look likely to return goals, then maybe it's not the right option. Maybe you're better off looking elsewhere. But let's start then with the defenders. So we've got 3 of them on the list of potential captaincy options. Let's start with the one at the bottom there, and Rhys James. Now, of course, all ears on what Chelsea are saying, but it doesn't look good news for Chilwell right now after his injury in the Champions League. Does that mean better returns for Rhys James? And also, maybe should that have meant that I put Alonso back on this chart? Maybe I should have done, because he is potentially going to start ahead of Chilwell this weekend. Across the last 4 game weeks, Manchester United have the worst expected goals conceded rate across the division. Now, yes, they have parted ways with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Yes, they do have an interim manager in terms of Michael Carrick is looking after them for a while until we see them appoint somebody. And yes, they did get a result in the Champions League, but I still haven't been convinced about them. Rhys James has got back-to-back returns since game week 9, 53 points in 4 game weeks. Obscene, absolutely obscene. Normally, I wouldn't recommend captaining a defender against Manchester United. And of course, there is definitely a risk there because whilst Manchester United have been in poor form, they have got Ronaldo, who is known for his magic and could therefore pop up with a goal. So you have to be fairly confident that Rhys James is going to be attacking and that he's going to score attacking returns in case that clean sheet goes. That's the only thing that puts me off captaining him if I owned him this weekend, would be the risk that the clean sheet goes. Above him then we've got Cancello. Cancello has started every game so far this season for Manchester City now. Probably going to jinx him by saying that. But he is the one last season that we were all talking about being a rotation risk. But it hasn't been him that's been the rotation so far this season. In fact, he's had more shots than any other Manchester City player so far this season. Now, a lot of them do come from outside the box. A lot of them are long range. And a lot of the time, the number of shots that he has is because he's played more minutes than everybody else. But nonetheless, the fact that he is starting every game, the fact that he is so attacking, and the fact that Manchester City have been so good defensively makes him a decent option. He has back-to-back double-digit hauls in the division as well, in game weeks 11 and 12, and is top for threat amongst defenders when you look at the ICT index. When you compare that then to what's happening with West Ham that he's playing against this week, they've just got one clean sheet in the last 4 game weeks. So the potential upside for Cancello is definitely there in terms of he might be able to get some attacking returns, and they've conceded 4 big chances in that period too. So again, some good potential upside there for him too. And the final defender that I've got on this list then is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, of the 3, he is the one that I would prefer if I was going to go with a differential defender captain this weekend. Trent has got returns in 6 Premier League matches against Southampton, and in that time, 2 assists, 4 bonus points and 2 clean sheets. He's also returned 3 double-digit hauls in the last 4 Premier League games and is 5th for expected goal involvement over the last 4 game weeks. That's across the division, every position. So he has been on really good attacking form. Liverpool are normally very good defensively. And against the Southampton side that aren't scoring a lot of goals, Trent Alexander-Arnold has a good opportunity for both attacking and defensive returns in this one. So he is my preferred defender. If you want to go for a differential defender captain, he would be the standout pick for me. In midfield then, obviously I've already spoken about Salah, but we have got a couple of other options in there. We've obviously got Mane. Now Mane is an interesting one because for every statistic, if you're looking at a £12 million midfielder, you would want them to be riding high, and he is. He's second for pretty much everything, just behind Salah. And that, of course, means that most managers are not bringing him into their teams because they can't afford to budget for him as well as Salah. He's owned by 4.6% of the game, so massive differential. But if you do own him, he is one that you could consider captaining this weekend. He has got 2 double-digit hauls in his last 3 matches against Southampton. He's got a really good record against them in the Premier League, and so he is somebody, given the way that he has been playing, he has been a bit sloppy, he's been a bit wasteful, he's not been scoring all of the opportunities that I would necessarily want him to as an FPL manager, but he has been spending a lot of time hanging around in the box, and of course that does mean the opportunity for tap-ins is definitely there. So Sadio Mane definitely want to keep an eye on. I am, however, recording this ahead of Liverpool's Champions League match on Wednesday evening. I don't yet know who Klopp is going to play in that one, whether Mane is going to start, but it's something to keep an eye on with, of course, him and with Salah and with Trent Alexander-Arnold, that they do have a game to play still in the Champions League, much like Cancello does too. Moving forward then into that midfield, we also have 2 others in there, Son and Foden. Now, both of them I think have potential this weekend. Neither of them setting the world on fire, but both of them have potential. Foden has an XGI, expected goal involvement, of 2.27 over the last 4 game weeks, which is the 9th best in the division. So doing the right things. With Ogbonna missing, could we see him play more centrally? Because that was the problem last weekend. A lot more time spent out on the wing. When he's out on the wing, much less effective because he's not really playing in that false 9, which is why we all brought him in. But could we see him return in there because his quick turns of paces might be really good against that West Ham middle without Ogbonna? Potentially we could, and if that happens, then he could be a really nice differential captain this weekend. But for me, it would be too much of a risk to captain Foden, because if we see him out on the wing, then I wouldn't want him wearing my armband. And also I've got Son in there in terms of midfielders. Both Son and Kane, who we'll talk about in a minute, hit the woodwork against Leeds on the weekend. Both of them had a particularly poor half of football in that first half, but in the second half, both of them put on significantly improved performances. I think without Tarkowski and Westwood, for Burnley, because the pair of them are out suspended this weekend, we could be in with an opportunity for attacking returns for Spurs. Not only that, but Burnley have been regularly conceding goals. They've only kept one clean sheet so far this season, and that was against Norwich. So we should see some attacking returns for the Spurs boys. But if I was going to take a punt and captain anyone for Spurs, it would be Harry Kane. Now, once bitten, twice shy for me, because I did this last weekend and I kind of got away with it because Salah just got the one goal and it didn't hurt me that much because the rest of my team performed. But there was a big risk that went really badly wrong. Kane did have 3 shots on target in the game against Leeds, and when we have a little look at him versus Burnley, he averages 7.1 points per match against them, so he does have a really good record against them. Not only that, just got to flip over the page, not only that, he has returned in his last 6 Premier League matches against Burnley, and in that time has done 7 goals, 3 assists and 8 bonus points, so has got a really good record. I do think we might be starting to see the best of him coming back. We're starting to see a bit more of the old Harry Kane, and starting to see some smiles as well, which is novel. But let's see, because of course both Son and Harry Kane will have likely a match in the conference on Thursday evening. By the time this video goes out, they would have played in that game, or I'm assuming they're going to play in that game. I would expect Conte to want to win it. Therefore, I'm expecting them both to play a part in that game. And therefore it's something to keep an eye on, because obviously we want to make sure they get through that game without any injury. So for me, these are the best captaincy options out there for game week 13. But really, I think you can risk it. There are other players this weekend that you could put the captaincy armband on. However, Salah's record against Southampton, alongside Salah's record generally across the Premier League so far in the first 13 game weeks, means that I wouldn't be risking putting the captaincy armband on anyone other than him this weekend. Some of the rest of these players are really nice differentials in their own right, and therefore you don't necessarily need to risk captaining them to get good returns and green arrows from them. It sounds a bit boring, but I do think Salah is the best captaincy option this time around, closely followed by Harry Kane, who I do think could be a good option. And in third place, I put Trent Alexander-Arnold, simply because the ability for him to keep a clean sheet and get attacking returns in game week 13 is differently there. Salah for the captaincy armband. I'll be vicing Harry Kane this weekend. Cheeky differential punt on Trent Alexander-Arnold though, that could pay off. Let me know who you're planning to captain in game week 13 in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button. And if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button. I will be back on Sunday with Lee to go through game week 13 and look ahead to midweek fixtures in game week 14. Thanks for watching, guys.